In this video, we're going to talk about object rendering in 3ds Max. We're going to use image-based lighting and we're going to render a single object. So in the previous video, we finished to talk about materials and textures and mapping. And we saw how we can generate the envelope mapping for our object in order to create packaging or branding, design, apply graphics, text, and also some imperfection to our models to make them look more realistic. So in this video, we're going to start to talk about rendering, and we already have prepared some of the scenes here that we're going to use. We're going to use an exterior scenario, and we will use some of the techniques like displacement or area for the exterior. We're going to use natural lighting, and we're going to use also the interior to create interior renderings. So basically, what we learned so far about materials, about lighting, about all the scene setup that we already seen, we're gonna apply them into the final part of this course, which is gonna be dedicated to rendering. Now you can render exterior, interior, and object mostly. So the first technique that we're gonna explore about rendering is gonna be the image-based lighting, or also called IBL. Now with IBL, this is gonna be the easiest way that you can create a really realistic and beautiful rendering, and with the only use of an image. So this is particularly easy to apply and to use, and it's only gonna take one single image. That image is gonna generate the lighting for our scene. Is gonna generate also a background so that we don't have a uniform background or a black background. And it's gonna also generate reflections on our object thanks to that background. So the IBL image-based lighting is just based on a single image. And we're gonna see how we can manage that image and the various effects that we can get with that environmental texture. So image-based lighting needs an image. That image, we can call it texture, is called environmental or environment texture. It's gonna go all around our scene, like a sphere surrounding our scene. And this is mostly used when we have a single subject or just a single object or a few objects. It's not accurate as when we create exterior and interior renderings with light. Now, what we need is environment texture, or they are also called HDRIs, so high dynamic range images. These images can represent an exterior, an interior, a studio, or whatever, can really simulate anything. And again, they're also called environment texture because usually they are applied to the environment or you've seen, and they're gonna again be like the background, the light, and so without actually creating an entire scene. Now they are based on HDR images, which are high dynamic range images. This is a term that is used in photography to express an image with a lot of information about the lighting and the darkness, the shadows and the brightness, and so on. So without going too technical, I'm just going to go and show you where you can get these HDRI images if you don't have already in your computer and you don't know where to find it. You can download any environment texture from the web, but if you want to find some nice and high quality HDRI images, you can go into Polyheaven. This is where we can get HDRIs, standard texture, and also models, and we already did that previously. So now we're gonna get some HDRIs. So if you go in the HDRI section of the Polyheaven website, you will find here a lot of HDRIs that you can use for simulating an interior or an exterior. So this one here, for example, is an interior. I can select the resolution, so I can go up to 16K, but well, that's only if you're gonna see like pixels, so you can get this higher quality, you can get HDR or EXR. We're gonna get HDR and we're gonna download it into a folder. So I'm gonna use a folder which could be my Texas folder or can be like in HDRI dedicated folder. I've chosen to store all my HDRI in a single folder so that I can use them anytime I need. And you can use this technique in many different software like Cinema 4D or V-Ray, Corona. You can use it basically anywhere. It's gonna change just slightly, but it's gonna be always based on a single environment texture. So if you want to make more examples, you can download an indoor scene, an outdoor scene. You can find the categories on the left list. And we can also recreate our studio. We talked about how to set up a studio earlier, about creating 3-point light system and to simulate a photographic studio. You can do that also with a single image. That's going to be easier, but it's going to be faster, but it's going to be less accurate than playing with lights and 3-point lighting. So we can say that image-based lighting, and I'm continuing here to download some different scenarios here like day, night, sunset, and so on. So you can quickly create a rendering with image-based lighting, but it would not be as accurate as a rendering, which it's also going to be with lights and with an accurate lighting and shadows system. So yeah, you can do it, but this can be just, if you need to work fast, because the best results you will obtain them using also lights. Now I'm gonna get also this marble bust so that we can have something to render, and should be something with reflections. So you can use any file. I'm gonna download here the FBX of this marble bust, but can be any industrial design object, any product that has some reflectivity, so that you can test not only the background, not only the lighting, but also the reflections on the objects and on the materials. So there you go. That's my marble bust right there. And it's an FBX format. So just like we did before with the other bust, you can see here in the 3-point lighting studio setup, I can just click and drag and drop it inside. And if I don't see the textures, I can, well, we saw how we can generate PBR materials, physically based render materials with textures. So you shouldn't have troubles with that. So I have now two busts here, one from previous videos and this other one right here. They look pretty shiny, so they can be used to test reflections. So you can see here I'm using different lights to have this studio setup, but I'm gonna just delete everything because I don't need anything else but a single image to do what I need to do. So I will just turn off these lights. Perhaps I will use them later as support to the IBL, to the image-based lighting, but essentially I don't need any of that. I just need an image. That's the beauty of HDRI. So if I go here, I'm just gonna pick the material to see if everything is fine here, or if it's missing something. So you can see all the maps in the roughness, in the diffuse, and in the bump are there. So everything is looking good and is looking fine. So I don't need to do anything else but set up my image-based lighting. So I'm gonna run a first rendering, and you can see that everything is total black because I don't have anything illuminating my scene. So if I quickly go in the environment, I can now use a map instead of a black background, black color. Well, you can actually just change this to white, and